gotta ask, is Golden State in danger of losing him?
Steph Curry wants to win the championship. Is this a championship roster? Absolutely not.
While the Warriors are not in a good position now,
some legends fade quietly. This one is refusing to. 4 championship rings sit on his resume. He rewrote the entire blueprint for how basketball gets played. His shot alone forced every coaching staff on the planet to redesign their defense from scratch. And yet, right now, at 38, this same man finds himself boxed in, surrounded by uncertainty instead of support. He is not slipping. He is not slowing. He remains the single most terrifying shooter this game has ever produced. But the organization built around his greatness may already be looking past him. In under a month, one decision could shake the entire league to its core. Loyalty to the only franchise he has ever known, or a departure nobody saw coming until now. This is not a quiet exit. This is the beginning of something explosive.
The Golden State Warriors are going to have no choice but to offer Steph Curry that 2-year extension in August.
Look closely at what makes this entire scenario so unusual. This is not an aging veteran limping toward a paycheck. This past season, at an age when most guards have already surrendered a step of their game, this player still delivered north of 26 points a night on outstanding shooting efficiency, despite genuine physical pain in a knee problem that wiped out nearly half his entire schedule. Even hampered, even without any real secondary scoring threat beside him, he stayed precisely who he has always been, the most lethal shooter this sport has ever witnessed. That is exactly where the trouble begins, because raw talent cannot single-handedly drag a franchise forward indefinitely, and his current roster offered him almost nothing worth building around. A losing record, an early playoff dismissal, and now a ticking deadline hanging overhead. Inside the next 30 days, he gains eligibility for a massive contract extension worth well over $100 million, binding him to this exact franchise for years into the future. He still has not put pen to paper. That silence alone has triggered genuine concern throughout the entire basketball world.
while the Warriors are not in a good position now, I know they tried to get Giannis and didn't get him. They tried to get Anthony Davis, didn't get him. They tried to get LeBron, didn't get him. They tried to get Jaylen Brown.
Understand why that hesitation carries so much weight. Walking into this offseason, this front office faced one obvious responsibility: find their franchise cornerstone a real teammate, capable of finally sharing the load before his championship window shuts for good. Everyone inside that building understood the clock was running out. Everyone understood rival contenders were growing more dangerous by the week. So they swung big, chasing nearly every legitimate star available on the open market. They pursued the single biggest free agent name out there, only to watch him choose an entirely different city. They circled another two-way superstar. That effort collapsed as well. They reached out to a former Finals MVP, also a dead end. A dominant veteran big man was never realistically in play to begin with. One target after another slipped through their fingers, and by the time the summer finally closed, the only meaningful addition this front office had to show for months of effort was a single rookie selection. That falls dramatically short of what a legend nearing the end of his career actually deserves. And things only get worse from here, because the failures happening on the court were nothing compared to what was reportedly unfolding behind closed doors.
Confident that maybe Steph would say, I can see myself mentoring those two on the way out. Let me be clear. I do not think it's going to happen. But I think because the Warriors have missed out on everyone, it is justifiable today to at least have the conversation and say, could that ever happen?
Here sits the one detail that should genuinely rattle anyone who has followed this organization over the past decade. Not a mishandled trade, not a squandered lottery pick. A message reportedly originating straight from ownership, exposing exactly where this franchise's real priorities currently rest. According to reporting out of the Bay Area,
The man who owns this team is not focused on constructing the strongest possible roster around his aging superstar for whatever seasons remain in his career. Instead, his attention is reportedly fixed on preparing for the era that follows him entirely. Take a moment to actually sit with that. This is a franchise that rode this exact player to 4 separate championships, that built its entire modern identity around everything he has accomplished on that hardwood. And the reported whispers circulating inside that building suggest leadership is already quietly sketching out a version of this team that does not feature him at all. Information like that never remains contained for long. It spreads through a locker room almost instantly, and it spreads even faster toward a 38-year-old superstar who has dedicated nearly 2 decades of unwavering loyalty to that exact organization. If the very people signing your checks are already designing a future that excludes you, why would you rush to commit yourself to more of it? That single report completely transformed the entire conversation. What should have been an effortless, celebratory signing suddenly became a genuine, franchise-altering question mark hanging over everything.
Now redirect your attention entirely, roughly 400 miles south, toward a franchise that just tasted something it had not experienced in over a decade, a legitimate run to the championship stage. This organization assembled the best regular season in its modern history, 62 wins, survived a brutal conference finals stretched to a decisive 7th game on the road, and reached the title round for the first time in 12 full years. And they still walked away with absolutely nothing, dropping the championship in 5 games. That specific brand of heartbreak does not simply sting in the moment. It fundamentally reshapes how a front office approaches everything moving forward. So this organization refused to stand still. They added shooting through free agency. They drafted interior size and depth. They brought in genuine championship-tested coaching experience to surround their promising young core. Every single decision made logical sense, but none of it addressed the actual core problem that cost them a championship in the first place: an overcrowded backcourt loaded with players who all demand the basketball and only one ball to realistically share between them. Their star point guard played exceptional basketball throughout the entire regular season, nearly 19 points a night, running the offense and helping build the exact culture that carried this team to 62 total victories. But a high ankle sprain suffered late in the postseason never fully healed, and his production collapsed entirely once the championship round arrived, sinking under 13 points a game on painfully inefficient shooting. Meanwhile, sitting directly behind him on the depth chart are 2 younger backcourt talents already flashing real long-term potential. One of them a rookie who scored in double figures on nearly 50% shooting during his very first championship series. That represents far more than healthy competition for minutes. That is a genuine roster construction problem quietly approaching a serious breaking point.
That exact problem explains precisely why one theoretical superstar pairing has completely consumed basketball conversation everywhere you look. Combine the single greatest shooter this sport has ever produced with the most gifted young big man to enter the league in an entire generation, and opposing defenses genuinely run out of viable answers. Walk through the sequence in your head. Drop coverage underneath the screen to protect the paint, and the shooter buries a 3 from nearly 30 feet away before help even arrives on time. Hedge aggressively to strip the basketball from his hands, and the big man rolls completely unguarded straight toward the rim for an effortless finish. Attempt a double team down in the post against the big man, and the shooter stands alone in the corner, wide open, staring directly at a pass that ends the entire possession before it can even develop further. Nothing in modern defensive theory actually holds up against that exact combination. Every single possession transforms into an unsolvable trap with no available exit. That reality alone explains why this particular pairing has taken over conversation across the entire basketball landscape, even without one single confirmed report of real trade discussions taking place anywhere. Multiple legitimate contenders now sit near the very top of the list as realistic landing spots should this superstar ever genuinely become available, not because insiders are reporting anything imminent, but because the underlying logic is simply too obvious for anyone paying close attention to dismiss outright. And here lies exactly what separates this particular conversation from ordinary offseason speculation. The franchise most connected to this pairing is not remotely desperate. They just reached the championship round. They already have a generational young superstar locked into a long-term contract. This is not some rescue mission born out of panic. This is a legitimately elite organization quietly weighing whether it is willing to make the single boldest move available in order to transform from great into something historically unmatched, all while that exact championship window still remains wide open. One single signature has the power to change absolutely everything here. If this legend commits to his extension before that approaching deadline, the entire conversation surrounding his potential departure vanishes overnight, and his current organization earns one more genuine chance to finally build something truly worthy of him. But until that signature actually materializes, the underlying math remains exactly where it currently sits, positioned directly in front of contenders across the entire league who already fully grasp what adding a talent of this caliber would genuinely mean. This is not a story about a fading superstar sliding into irrelevance. This is a story about a legend still performing at the absolute peak of his powers, quietly watching the very franchise built around his greatness continue to hesitate while championship windows swing wide open elsewhere across this league. Basketball history is filled with legendary careers that concluded precisely where they began. It is equally filled with the ones that took an entirely different path. Which version does this particular story ultimately become? Drop your prediction down in the comments below. Hit that like button if you want more breakdowns exactly like this one, and subscribe so you never miss it the moment this actually happens.